are there some of these?
Well, so his wife is a Brown, and I wonder if he's related,
I think we should do the same.
or she's related.
Yeah.
Just ruin that. Yeah, yeah, that would be good.
Can we do faster?
We have to move to go back into regular session? Okay. Is there a motion to return to the select board meeting?
Make a motion, we return to the select board meeting.
Second?
Second that.
Okay. And at 6:50. With apologies to everybody waiting, we just had some important town business to take care of in executive session. So we're here to talk about the budget. We have a recommendation from the Budget Committee after their meeting on March 26th, and we got the summary of that with 8 items that the Budget Committee wanted to make changes to. I think what we'll do, if it makes sense, is to go through our budget book here, and then as we come across the item, well, these aren't in order, though.
Yeah, they are.
Are they? Because they start
Yep.
with, okay. Yeah, you're right. Okay, so we'll handle these as we get to the relevant departments. All right. So the first category, and I think there's a few we can probably skip. Administration, there wasn't really any discussion at the Budget Committee meeting on that. Nothing really on town manager, town clerk. I think planning and community development. Anybody have anything on that? So finance is the first place we had a budget committee recommendation. And that was something we had all talked about. That was adding, in recognition of the increase in the rate of interest that's being paid on the amount of money that the town keeps in its accounts. We've seen already $161,000 this year in interest, so that would effectively result in a $320,000 payment this year in interest. So the recommendation of the Budget Committee was to increase that by 107. So, and we had budgeted, the proposal here is $120,000 for that interest. I know Megan had indicated to us that she would feel very comfortable making that $170,000. That potentially even seems a little conservative. We're hearing more financial news suggesting that the Fed may not be jumping on interest rate reductions right away. Not that we want to get into market timing on any of this, but we could potentially go to 180 or something even a little higher than what the Budget Committee recommended, which I would assume would be okay with the Budget Committee. Does anybody, what do you guys think?
I guess if that's a number that Megan's
Are you okay
comfortable
with increasing that to 180 from 170?
Are they still planning 3 rate adjustments this year?
I don't know yet, but the manufacturers, one of the manufacturer indexes came out today hot, over 50, at 51. The expectation was 49. So it just depends on their balance, really. I mean, they've got to decide if housing and unemployment is more important than future orders in manufacturing. So my opinion would be that they would push it off or reduce it to maybe 1/4% instead of
You also have a
0.5%.
presidential election in November.
Yeah.
And if that
Well,
changes.
if 320,000, this is probably at like a 5% rate most of this year, is
Yeah.
that how that? So 320, and we're still gonna be significantly below that in terms of what we budget, but sort of not a big,
I mean, half would be 180,
mm-hmm,
if you assume the rate was cut in half.
yeah. Okay.
Yeah, and I wouldn't expect it to be a half,
They're not gonna,
Right.
so. I don't think they'll move that quickly to lower it.
hate to
Right.
use your budget for the
That's all right.
help with
I'm
some of
here
the
for
other
everybody's
expenses we have.
assistance.
Okay, so what do you guys think? Are you okay with 180?
I'm fine.
Yeah.
Okay. Do we need to take formal votes on
Yeah,
each
you
of these?
probably should,
Okay.
just to,
So do we have a motion to take, essentially, I think we're taking the Budget Committee's recommendation of 170, and we're actually increasing that even by a little more to 180. Do we have
Yeah.
a motion for that?
So we'll move to make the interest 180,000 in the
Okay.
finance department.
Second?
Second?
And Megan, are you keeping track of these, or should I? Or
I could.
do you mind?
No.
Okay. Okay.
And that's the line R, 302, right?
Correct.
Yep,
Yes,
ours,
R
ours
0302, yeah. Okay. Any discussion? All those in favor? Okay.
Who seconded that?
Me.
Thank you.
Okay, so next is assessing. Anybody have anything on assessing?
Where is that?
That is the next couple pages. So 149.
Are we talking about a vehicle?
I don't think there's a vehicle in this
I don't
budget.
know.
Planning.
That'll
That's
be,
in planning.
yeah, which we just went by. But you don't want to talk about a vehicle, do you?
No, I was just.
Yeah, if that was the
off of
one.
these. I wasn't sure where we were here.
Yeah, so the next place we'll have
Okay.
Budget Committee recommendations is the harbor budget.
okay.
Insurance, that was pretty straightforward. Moving over to public safety. We have the police budget. That's, I could give you those pages. Starts at 169, the real numbers start at 173. Nope, no recommendations from the Budget Committee on that.
And I didn't make any notes, so.
Yeah, I don't have. Next, so I don't want to go too fast
Yeah.
either, if that's,
So the public safety,
yeah, so we've
Was
just
that-
done police. Anybody have anything on police?
I just want to clarify, that was where they were talking about whether or not to get the tasers and all
The
that
body
stuff.
cameras.
Body cams and all that stuff.
Yeah, the
Yep.
the police chief himself
Yeah,
said.
he said.
You wanna do
we
some
said
I'm
more
not
more
ready,
research.
I want to
You
do
want
some
more
research
research.
on that.
Yep.
So we're being respectful of our police chief in terms of making sure he has what he needs to keep us all safe, but also, you know, it's a big enough purchase that he wants to look into that more, so. Fire department is page 185. And that includes the emergency response as well. Well, that'll be next.
Next one.
Emergency response, and then emergency medical will be next,
Right,
EMS.
yep.
So anything on the fire department? Okay, next is public safety, emergency medical services, and that's page 195.
I would just add, I'd suggest the board take a chance to watch the Camden budget meeting from last Thursday, if you get a chance. At that time, the fire chief and the town manager laid out a plan for the next, I want to say 5 budget years that describes how the town of Camden wishes to pursue their challenges with EMS. I would say that their timetable is a little different than ours. They, I believe, if my recollection is correct, they won't be transporting, and this is BLS, so your basic level, lowest level of responses until FY '28. or, no, excuse me, FY '29. 2029, don't quote me, but they are on a different timetable, and I certainly wish we were in sync on this, and I certainly thought, Doug's here, and Doug and I have had this conversation in my office a time or two, and I had thought we would be at this point, and we'd be across the table with, some modest differences in our plans, but clearly Camden's on a different effort right now than where we've go. And I would just add that, I have great confidence in the work that's been done thus far by Chief Peasley and Joe Moore and all the chiefs and those who've been, Megan, who have worked really hard to try to get this to this point. And I don't want to get on a soapbox on this, but a lot of work has gone into the effort that we're going to undertake here.
Yep.
There's a lot of policy that's gone into that, a lot of planning, a lot of this is not reckless by any stretch. This is a well thought out plan, and I have a lot of confidence in our chief that he's going to work his badge off to make sure that this thing works. And I'm gratified by the number of people in our community who see that, because just because we are next door doesn't mean we have to have the same solutions to every problem. And I think we're going to have a good response, and I'm sure there'll be growing pains through that process if the boards, so vote. But I'm very optimistic that we're going to have a service that represents Rockport well. And I think it's one that our residents will be proud of. And I also think it's one that can be the tent pole of working with other communities and collaborating and putting ourselves in a position where all the communities, EMS providers in Midcoast, are working together and providing good care for everyone in Knox County. And that, when there's a fire, it doesn't matter what it says on the side of the truck. You see the red lights, you see them pull up to your house, you say, thank God. And that's what I fully believe that's what we'll end up with EMS as well. But just a little disappointed on my end in terms of what I said at the outset of this budget process and what my expectations were. I'm disappointed that's not the case. But I respect Camden's right to choose the direction they wish to go. Mm-hmm. And I like our plan, and I think, obviously the board will be kept up to date. I expect, there'll probably be sort of status updates as we're sort of, if that's the direction this town goes in, that keeps us all informed about how that grows and evolves over time. Because there's going to be a lot that will probably, by the time we get to next budget year, there'll be a lot learned already, I'm sure. So.
Well, and I did watch that budget committee meeting, and I'm not sure, I don't know when they're definitely not going to do it this year, but they are hiring for those slots. And they're at a bit of a disadvantage because we were fortunate in having the West Rockport Fire Station. That's
Very
really
true.
been the game changer for us, because it does give us a place for the ambulance. Yep. It gives us a place for our 24-hour crews, and there was a recognition at the Camden budget meeting that they're still doing 12-hour shifts, and that's not very attractive to employees in that business. So they're perhaps struggling a little bit with getting the employees they need, but they're going on a slightly different tact. I think we'll end up in the same place in a year or two when they sort out their own space needs. There was a lot of discussion about that, and we just fortunate, for lots of reasons we chose to build the West Rockport Fire Station, but it's turning out to be something very helpful on the EMS front. So we'll do what we think is right for Rockport, and the mutual aid system that works for all of us is really amazing, and that does work down on the ground, on the scene, when you need help, whether it's Camden, Rockport, Rockland, Northeast, people will be there for everyone, so it's good. Okay. Any questions or thoughts on the EMS budget? Okay. Next is, let's see, other public safety services, animal control. I think we skip by those. Harbor's the next one, and there were two recommendations from the budget committee on Harbor. Harbor is page 215. And the Budget Committee recommended $25,000 be added to the Harbor Seawall Reserve. And I think the reason that was requested by the harbor master, but the town manager suggested that because we're doing this sort of wholesale analysis of the harbor and what we need to do to plan for the future down at the harbor, that it was premature to be putting money into a reserve that we don't yet have a plan for. And that's not to take away what the harbor master was thinking and why a reserve is good. I guess in this very tight budget year where we already have essentially an 11% increase, I'd be less inclined to put money into this Harbor Seawall Reserve this year, and let's spend our money, as was originally planned, on the evaluation of the harbor and what needs to be done. And then we're gonna, just have to scrape the ground and look everywhere for grants, because we are one of many small Maine coastal towns that has got a big budget, a big bill coming due that we've got to figure out for our harbor and how to protect it. But I guess my initial reaction is to just throw it into the harbor reserve. I sort of respect the town manager and his sort of view overall of the priorities among the different departments. And so sort of that would be my rationale for not putting the money into the Harbor Seawall Reserve, but let's talk about it.
Which side are we thinking here? What are we protecting with this?
Yeah, who gets the 25? Well, it's just going into a reserve. It's as if we're sort
Yeah.
of saving, knowing it's a big number, but we're just putting something in it.
Did anyone check that article I sent about the money that Susan Collins got? 10 million and 5 for harbors and Seacoast.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know how that's gonna play out.
Well,
but-
that's what I was.
But I'm thinking she's at least pinned down some funds for the harbors and the Seacoast. And it's
Yeah.
not just Maine though, it's for more than Maine, but,
Yeah.
I mean, even if you can get a little bit of it.
That's sort of the trick. It's the next level.
I know.
It's like, the press release sounds great.
I know.
And then,
Yeah.
but no, you're right. I mean, and to Denise's point too, sort of doubling up where you're going, Eric. I mean, there's going to be money. It's going to be competitive. And it's going to be difficult. And that's why, from my perspective, the plan is so important, because let's make sure we're putting, and I always get the saying wrong, good money after bad, bad money after good. But you want to do it the right way, whichever one that is. That was sort of the feeling behind this. I understand Clay's point in that you put money aside, and there will be things that we'll probably need to do right away. And there probably is damage that will occur that won't be covered by FEMA, that we'll have to put into effect in this budget year. Having said that, what I was reacting to was the overall budget increase. And I was trying to find anywhere I could to sort of hold a line, even though that, everything's, it's a tough budget year. So,
And this it would go into a reserve, it wouldn't be budgeted for any actual work
Right.
at the harbor, right? I mean,
Right.
I'm assuming we've got what it's gonna take to get the harbor up and operating for the summer?
well, the plan right now will be to make it safe. And to do what it takes to get the harbor to a place where it's usable and we can operate. It's not going to be built to last. It's going to be built to make sure no one falls in and breaks an ankle, right? The challenge is that we get to then work with FEMA, and then we talk to them about them saying to us, well, we'll give you the money to put it back as it was, which we all know, everyone in this room and everyone watching on TV will say, well, that's kind of foolish because it just washed out to sea. So you work with mitigation and you try to get them to give you some leeway in doing better than what you have, but it's a process, and unfortunately, it's not for the faint of heart. But there are also storms that aren't part of that, and washouts that we have already without constant storms. And those are repairs we have to do. This money initially was really, when Abby and I first started talking about this 2 years ago, it was really about the idea that these constant sinkholes that were sort of appearing on both sides of the harbor had to be addressed, long-term. What's happened since then is we've seemingly gotten a storm every month or every couple of weeks. And they're now happening not just every few months, it's happening every few weeks, every couple of weeks. So the need is rising. The problem is that there's a bigger master plan we have to talk about. How high do we go? And Abby and I were talking, DEP is allowing you to go up 3 feet without permits. That's an appetizing idea until you figure out how much it costs to go up 3 feet.
And realize it's not enough.
And yeah, exactly.
Minimum 6.
Yeah, it's scary stuff. So anyway, what's the right investment for Rockport? And that's why I sort of said I didn't want to. $60,000 is as a one-off is a big impact on in this department budget. But next year I could see coming back to you and it'd be a completely different conversation if that committee's work and the work of the contractor that they work with is as helpful as I hope it is.
Yeah.
But
Well, and for grants, we need a plan.
yeah,
They'll want to see that, so.
absolutely.
Yeah, that's a tough one for me, because
Yeah, me too.
I see the logic of setting the money in there.
Yeah.
I totally see it. And I question how much of a difference in the overall budget 25,000 would make,
I don't think that much,
you know?
but it's everything.
But everything does add
Yeah.
together,
Right.
so I'm back and
Yeah.
forth, but I'm kind of leaning towards having it
You can always go with a different number. It
Yeah.
doesn't have to be
Yeah.
25, you can throw out,
They had
you can
10
put out a
10
different number.
10 was budgeted last year. It looks like nothing yet has gone in there. 25,000 went in the year before.
Well, we don't she doesn't post the reserves till year end, so
Okay,
it
thank
will.
you. So that will go.
If the number's
Oh, that
there,
makes
it
sense.
will go.
Okay, thank you, that makes sense.
Yeah, and what do we have for the?
So it was 25 the year
Harbor.
before, 10 this year, and
No.
A penny.
I'm comfortable with 25.
Okay, yeah.
I am too.
Yeah.
Okay,
So can I give you a little rule of thumb on this to
Yeah.
give you an idea of what's the impact?
Yeah,
So for every $150,000 spent one way or the other, it accounts to a penny on the mill rate, roughly. Roughly,
okay.
okay? So whatever that is, 1/7, I guess, so it's 1/7 of a penny is the
To
impact.
the mill rate,
Yeah. Just to give you,
yeah, yeah.
because we'll be talking about some things that are
Yeah.
a little bit more magnitude and,
Knowing that it's a reserve gives me a little more comfort, though.
yeah.
the deficit.
Because I envision big things happening there that will need as much in the reserve as possible, but
And the sooner we start paying into it. the better.
yeah,
I see that.
Okay, so
And I-
make your motion.
Yeah, I think it's, you get straddled with the support deference to the town manager who's looking
Oh,
at the
yeah,
overall
yeah,
thing,
yeah.
or to the budget committee who spent a lot of
the
time
budget
looking
committee
at this.
and the harbor master.
And the harbor master, yep. Yeah. do you wanna
You gonna make the motion?
Okay. Yeah. I'll make a motion to include the $25,000 as harbor seawall reserve, line item 7351 in this year's budget.
Okay,
Second.
okay. Any discussion? All those in favor?
4-0.
4-0.
Okay, thank you.
Next, and under the same harbor budget, is add $7,500 to the harbor piling replacement line in the harbor department. And my understanding of the rationale for that was, you guys were there
Get her done.
as well.
Yeah.
Get her done.
Get her done,
Get her done.
and the getting the equipment out the first time, and doing a few, and then taking it away, and then bringing the equipment back out to do a couple more.
It's more
Is
expensive in the
inefficient,
long
more
run, yeah,
expensive,
yeah.
so that makes sense.
Can they get it all done in one go if we do that?
Yeah, make that happen.
What's the line item on that?
7345.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
I hate putting money and then it just sit there.
So add 75.
We can get it all done,
Yeah,
yeah. And that would be this, later in the summer, or
we'd have to see, just with all the storms and the contractors.
when they free
it's
up?
not- Yeah, because it wouldn't be essential priority to stabilize.
Mm-hmm,
So as long as we have material to put in,
okay,
we'd hopefully go.
okay.
Spring, a year from now.
That was your,
Spring, yeah,
your audio man.
yeah,
So if we make,
2025, spring of
2025.
2025,
yeah.
right, it couldn't be this spring.
you can take it back.
so if we make a motion, do we make a motion for the increase or just, or what the line item should be?
You
The
can do it
total
either
amount.
way.
Either way.
Okay,
You can phrase it, I think, along the lines of what the budget committee did.
okay.
You could just say approve the recommendation number 3 from the budget committee. Do you want it to?
Oh, that's smart.
I make a motion, we approve recommendation number 3 from the budget committee to add 7,500 to the harbor piling replacement line in the harbor department, which is line 7345.
A second.
Okay, any discussion? All those in favor?
4-0.
4-0. Okay, anything else on harbor? Next is Public Works.
EMA,
Oh, EMA. But that might be one we can skip unless
Yeah.
somebody has.
I think we were set with EMA, right?
Yep. Let me see if I'm not. Okay, Public Works. The Budget Committee recommended that we reduce the road salt line by $10,000. So that's currently budgeted at $77,000, and the recommendation was to reduce it to $67,000.
And that's based on the logic that we haven't used nearly as much as previous years, right?
Yeah, and Mike, I don't know if you want to have a
Yeah.
comment on that.
How much did
or-
we use in the last week and how much
Yeah.
are we gonna use on Thursday?
Yeah, are we-
Is the
are we-
question with our
And this
14
has
inches.
Right up against
been an exceptional year, and we've picked a number that, we've gotten to this number we're at because it's worked, or
Yeah.
it's been increased because it hasn't worked.
And I see that the cost of salt is going up exponentially.
It will go up. We've been fortunate this year. I think we would be in better shape to leave the number where it is, rather than having next year and be way overdrawn. I think over the years, we've come up with a number, and that's where it should stay.
Yeah,
We didn't have any reserves left from prior periods. Not really.
Thank you, thank you.
I was looking for the amount that the salt.
So you'd
has
like to
gone
see
up.
it?
I would like to see
Stay.
it stay where it is.
Went up from $50 a ton to $75 a ton,
Whoa,
so, and that's gonna keep happening.
whoa,
so.
whoa.
Fuel and trucking,
costs will keep
yeah,
going up.
yeah.
yeah, everything with fuel and trucking and labor to get,
So
it's
the,
not gonna get
the
down.
quantity of the salt is not the only factor then?
And I don't know how many more years we can get as lucky as we were this winter,
True.
Yeah,
so.
so, but this is, the 77,000 that you budgeted is enough to have what you need to do.
That's a good number.
Okay.
Okay.
I guess if we have 25,000 we can throw into reserve we don't even need, we probably can put 10,000 back in to make sure the roads are safe in the winter.
Keep it as, yeah.
Yeah.
So this would basically be denying the budget
Yeah,
committee
we
item
would
number
accept,
4.
we would not accept
We would not
the
reduce the,
recommendation number 4 and would keep that at 77,000.
okay.
Is that the right way to do the motion, or?
I think you probably should take a motion to deny
Yeah.
accepting, because then it will show up on the warrant as, did not accept, or something,
I would say not approved.
Not
That's
approved.
how it'll show up on the
Yeah.
warrant.
Okay, so we should have a motion that's phrased that we don't
Does not approve
approve the reducing the road salt line.
or budget committee recommendation number
Okay.
4.
Okay,
Yep.
okay. So do we have
A motion? I'll try.
Okay.
I'd like to propose a motion to deny the budget committee's recommendation number 4 to reduce the salt budget by $10,000 and maintain the full amount of $77,000 that was planned.
Okay. Second? So Eric's a second. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Yeah.
Okay, 4-0. The next item was remove the purchase of a new F-350 with no plow from the Public Works Department. And that was a $15,000 item. Let's see if I can find that.
Where is that?
That's what I'm
It
looking
is-
for.
Oh,
It
fourth from the
is
bottom.
in that first gray section,
Oh, I see it,
capital. It's the fourth one up.
So under capital, 7260.
$15,000 is the
Yeah,
amount.
so the department head did not ask for it, but the
Nope,
town manager put it in.
yeah.
And I
Sort of
There it
came
is,
about
here it is,
as we
okay.
viewed the budget and looked at the age of the current stock of vehicles, and I thought, ooh, you know, 21 years old, while it runs well now, you know, next year could buy a beer. So, probably we should be considering and thinking about its replacement. I'm not opposed to maybe delaying the purchase for a year and sort of withdrawing my recommendation on here. And coming back once we've had some of that work on the fire truck side, and some of that hasn't worked out this fall. You know, I don't know I necessarily would agree with where Clay was coming from, but that may end up exactly be where we end up, is to repurpose the truck that's there now. But I think it's too early to say. So as a result, I guess that's what I'm saying, I'll pull back my recommendation of the 15, and if I come back next year, just don't think I didn't hear you, this is why.
Now it's
Yeah,
time.
So,
Okay,
And you're
Yeah,
good.
so you're
town-
okay with that, Mike, too? We can
yeah, the
accept
town manager and I
recommendation.
had some discussion over the vehicle. Like he said, at this point, I wouldn't want to take a vehicle from the fire department that's been set up for them to put it there. Next year, look at this, we may be able to play shuffle, or we may be asking for a truck at that point. So
Okay.
I'm fine with,
Okay,
And the current truck still is in reasonable
It's
condition.
working,
And
yeah.
it looks decent, it's not
Yeah.
all
it's
beat.
safe to drive.
part of the reason why we looked at that this year is that the replacement schedule on these trucks
Right.
opened up such that this was a year, if you were going to replace one, this was a better part of the schedule to fit this in, so that way there's more of a consistent line of what we're paying. But let's, let's not go down that road, and we'll wait, and if it throws things off a little bit next year, so be it.
Okay.
All right, so we're going to
so-
accept that?
So we're going to accept, or we have a motion.
I
for
move
that.
we accept item number 5 of
Okay.
the Budget Committee recommendations to remove the purchase of the new F-350 with no plow from the Public Works Department for $15,000
Second.
under capital items.
Okay. And the second from
Second,
Eric.
second.
Any discussion? All those in favor? 4-0. Okay. All right, let's see, what else do we have here? Anything else in Public Works?
the sidewalk should have been on that list, right?
No,
No.
that vote, they didn't
That-
get the
The
vote.
vote
Okay.
didn't.
They didn't vote on.
Anything else on the
Did we cut it by 8 inches?
16?
Oh, is it 16 now?
Yeah. Guess Public Library, let's see, we have Parks in here, I think. After Public Works. So Parks is
Sanitation's after Public Works,
Oh,
if you're
okay.
gonna continue to go.
249?
yeah, do we care about, I mean, we care, but do we have anything on sanitation? I didn't have any notes there.
And just one quick note about Public Works, because I just want to sort of put this, especially for Michael and Kim's benefit
Okay.
here. So Public Works starts their work, their prep work on what's coming up before it actually happens, right? So everyone's been out Main Street, you know, that road is widened out and it's, you know, it's been, you know, trees have been removed and all that. So there is some work that goes into that, but largely I wait until what I see from the four, sometimes there's 5 of you out here, in terms of how that goes. And, you know, we talked a bit about moving around monies and what department. I've sort of, that sort of prep work and Mike's gonna somewhat take from what we've discussed and start going into work and ordering culverts to plan for the work that's on here, because you need.
You need that
you
lead
know,
time.
Yeah, so I just want you to understand that even though if you see projects that are sort of, well, we haven't sort of stepped
That's a
forward to
July
that.
1.
If we were to wait until the budget, you know, the night the budget's approved for Mike to start working on things that, we, right, yeah, right. So I just so everyone understands, that's how it sort of works, so.
Okay. So I guess library's next on the budget committee recommendations.
And when you guys were going through the initial reviews, you had talked about increasing the elevator reserve, elevator maintenance line to 2,000. I did change it in here, but if you wanna do that, then you should probably have a motion to do
Okay.
that.
Yeah. no,
Yeah, so
'cause I had
that's
looked
on
at 2000.
4130, page 261.
Yep,
Line
4130.
4130.
Yeah,
And that, we had 1685 and we want to increase that to 2,000.
I think it's a safer number.
Yeah, we spent 1810 last year, or so
So
far this
far.
year.
I still think 2000's on the low side, but at least it's a little better.
So do you want to make a motion?
Yeah, so, I move that we make the elevator maintenance line 4130, $2,000.
Second.
Second. Any discussion? All those in favor? Okay. 4-0. Hugely helpful, Megan, doing those, because I know I'd be messing up.
No writing, it's great.
And then,
The building reserve.
yeah, then the budget committee, the current proposed budget for the building reserve is $4,000, and the budget committee wanted to increase that to $10,000 to make sure we're doing right by our
Yep.
new building, even though it's new and we don't expect immediate problems. The whole point of a reserve is to build that up when it doesn't hurt as much as the big number that you might get hit with later, so. That makes sense to me. I think that's,
Sounds logical to me.
yeah, that's good stewards of our buildings. Do we have a motion?
I don't know the line.
I have a motion, we accept the Budget Committee's recommendation number 6 to increase the library building reserve deposit to 10,000, line 7337.
Okay,
Second that?
second, Michael seconded it. Any discussion? All those in favor? 7337?
Yep.
Thank you.
Okay, next is
Conservation.
Conservation Commission, is that, oh, it is next, okay. And this recommendation from the Budget Committee was to increase the equipment reserve in the Conservation Commission budget to $20,000. And that was related to a piece of water monitoring equipment, a data sonde that had been, the proposed budget was to, let's see, back up. The, would it have been the chair, who's the department head for?
Yeah, the
No.
committee, yeah.
The committee had,
commission-
the commission had asked for $20,000 for that item. The town manager had reduced it to $5,000. And the budget committee was recommending that that be increased back to the $20,000 to allow the Conservation Commission to do the work it does in monitoring water quality in the harbor. And John, I think your explanation, it's just overall budget. To use the 5,000 in a reserve and to accumulate money, I think it's likely that grant money will be available for something like this. I don't know what kind of match we might have to come up with to do that. I know, I think it's, we very much appreciate all the work the Conservation Commission does in water quality monitoring. And they do have an existing an existing Datason that is working right now, but it doesn't always work right.
Right, yeah, sketchy.
And I think, well, it's a tough one. It's a tough budget year. I think, it would be interesting to maybe have the Conservation Commission, to have some more work done on what kind of grants might be available for this equipment, do the reserve. I'm just throwing this out as a possible.
My question, a question would be, if the full 20,000 was back on there, and of course, I don't expect the full 20,000 is needed for that equipment. Maybe they can get better pricing, whatever, but the money is there then, it's already given to the commission,
Yeah,
right?
my understanding, because a few of us just Googled it, because we're like, well, what is a Datason?
Yeah.
And when you do that as just an ordinary consumer, you come up with numbers significantly, much closer to the 5,000. But I understand from Bill Bowe on the Conservation Commission that it's a $32,000 piece of equipment, really, and that they will still need to find some grants or some other way to pay for it.
Okay, because I was wondering if there was extra left over, would that then help offset something down the road?
Yeah,
But,
but it won't even
Okay.
be enough at that, so.
I don't know if this is the right time to bring this up, but, since, might as well, right? One thing that, and maybe I'm gonna put myself over my own skis here, but I think it's wonderful that we have had a dedicated group of volunteers on this committee in particular, the Conservation Commission. They have worked tirelessly for decades to test the water quality in Rockport Harbor and all waterways across the town. This is where, the question though is committees and commissions change over time. We were blessed with someone who not only was a leader in the field, but someone who had a true passion for testing water, and Bob Kennedy. And, others on the commission have taken up the banner and run right behind. But there is something to be thought about the idea that these commissions these committees do operate on their own. Abby is our department head who works with the commission, but she's not a water quality, as much as a harbor master could be, she's not a water quality, specialist. And this is where sometimes what the committees can do augments and helps what our staff can do, but sometimes it can be a square peg round hole situation, right? And we're blessed in Rockport. We have a lot of people who have time and energy and effort and know-how in so many different areas to lead, and to bring quality. But these are not things that we're paying for in terms of staff time. And I just, if we're buying equipment, and who owns the equipment, how do we maintain the equipment? This is a town of Rockport piece of equipment, right? And that we're placing that a committee or commission will be responsible for. If I were, there's a part where will the Parks Committee come in and say, well, there's this really special thing that'll cut trees out of, we're gonna stump grind, or, I don't know, but I'm just saying there's a line here that the board and the town needs to think about when it comes to equipment and what we're asking of staff and what we're asking of our volunteers and our committees. And it's working, so might be just don't worry about it. But there's also part of this of, these are just committees. People can quit and go away, and
Right.
the sort of the peaks and valleys of what we do rests with how good the next person will walk on the door and say, I want to be part of this committee. And that's not, for my responsibility in terms of the town, I'm looking at staff, right? That's what you entrust me to make sure we have the people who can plow the roads and arrest the bad guys and put out the fires and all of that. Make sure, win awards when they have their budgets. That's what I'm hired to do. This is outside that, right? And so we're gonna invest, $20,000 or $5,000 or $30,000 in equipment that's run by a committee. valuable, yes, but at what point is there a staff role? At what point does the staff have to work hand in hand? We don't have a staff person who, at that level, is working on climate issues, or someone who's working on, sea level rise, other than Abby's obviously up there every time there's an issue. So what I'm saying is, the Conservation Commission is a bit of an oddball out of the constellation of all our parks and all of our committees and parks and harbor, and everyone's got their sort of role. But this is the first time we were investing sort of in this way into a piece of equipment that rests with a commission.
Which is why I struggled, because I'm like, okay, wait, who's our department head that wanted this?
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying, yeah. So I think this is a good investment into what we're doing and where we're going right now. But there is a time, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, I don't know when. But
Well,
we have to start marrying those two things up of need in the community and what our commission and the people in our town are telling us we need, and maybe what we're offering in terms of staff makeup or structure. I don't really know the answer, but something to think about.
Well, and it makes me think when I'm saying, oh, well, we Googled it, and then we talked to so-and-so, and that's a pretty iffy basis
Yeah.
for like allocating money in a budget. And it might be, one possibility to consider is that we ask the Conservation Commission, to sort of help us understand more about this piece of equipment, what happened, you've got to have a boat to use it, right? You've got to get out into the harbor, and that's you. So you go out with them with this?
Yeah, we go out, we've been going out once a month. So we have on a specific tide, it's when high tide's usually around noontime. So when it falls around noontime in the month, Bob Kennedy did it before, but now Bill will schedule it with me and Jeff Runge, and we go out and test the water then.
And I don't want to, you cut your
I
microphone.
got
And I don't want to speak for you, Abby. I'm trying to speak in the mic too, Jeff, so I'm going to try to do both.
Look at Abby.
Right, I want to look at Abby and not have her look back in my head, but am I sort of relaying that sort of the fit there is a weird one at times?
It can be a little bit of a disconnect,
Yeah.
as you said, with the personnel we had, but we also have, other people filling in that are just as capable as well for Bob, which I've been.
I mean, in terms of the staff role,
Oh,
your role in terms of what you can provide and what your skill set
right, my
is
skill
with
set, right, so I drive the boat.
valuable, no doubt.
Right, I drive the boat, I sometimes pencil in the data that they tell me, and then I ask questions and get an answer that I don't understand. But they, I understand why we're gathering the data, I do see the value in it, and I have been able to look at it and see that things are changing. So I do think the window into what's happening is through that piece of equipment. So do I, would I know how to maintain it? No. Do I know really what it does? No, I do know the value in when it was broken. There was a lot more of my time that was spent in going out, oh, it's not working, coming back in, going out the next day for a couple hours. So, the value in having a working piece of equipment would be more efficient from my end, for sure, than it was this past year when we were having failures and spent, we usually go out for probably hour and a half, 2 hours. It was more like 4. It's a half a day of my time, boat time, things like that. So that's a consideration as well.
That is.
Yeah.
During the summer?
Yeah. Yep.
Yikes.
Nothing going on in Abby's
Nothing
world
happening
then.
there.
No.
But I have my radio and I can always respond. And we have responded with scientists on board.
Yeah.
And the data that's being collected is something that I'm assuming will have to be collected for a long time, for many, many years, to keep a consistent
A baseline
record.
of what, of what is being, and I think the value in this new data song that they're interested in is that it can get left. So it won't be just a once a month window into what's happening. It will be a, real time, over time, what's happening with the hydrology of
So it gets left
tides
out
and
in the,
there's a huge value in that, because right now, we're just getting a window. What if it rained 2 inches the night before? We're gonna have a much different result
Yep.
with that data set, which is just a blip.
but what do you do with the data?
What happens with the data? So, I kinda wish that someone from the Conservation Commission was here.
Well, no,
Um,
I'm not
it's-
asking, I just think, anyway.
Yeah, right, and it does go, I mean, they do go, they work with, I know we do the shell acidification things, and they do share the data with those folks that are coming in and having, just a accumulation of, and I can imagine if there are, when there are grants for water quality and things, I can't imagine many other harbors have such a robust.
Yeah, it makes me wonder, I mean, I'm just thinking out loud here,
Yeah, yeah.
but it feels like it's something we should understand better and have a more consistent sort of town approach and town buy-in to what we're doing this for. It's great to develop data, but what do you do with that information? And if you don't have the money to fix the problems that are causing, it's like, it's a piece of a much bigger whole that I feel like we should maybe be more intentional about what we're doing.
Yeah.
Well, I do know a lot of the other people on the commission are professionals along those lines, and I know
Yeah,
that's
no,
not
knock
really
on,
down. Yeah.
we're lucky
Yeah.
to have
But
them.
some of the data that's collected, is it what we learned that, like, in the harbor, they're testing, I don't know if it was through the data zone or not, and finding that there are, like, prescription drugs and all that, so that's not with that,
That's
right?
separate.
Okay,
That's a big-
because that was alarming to me that the commission actually found,
Yeah.
yeah, pharmaceuticals is the word
Yeah.
I'm trying to go for.
Evidence of basically septic tank overflows.
Yeah, yeah. Well, that's different, okay.
So one thing you could do is you could keep this as a reserve and then require it to come back before the expenditure. At that point, maybe there's a plan with grant monies and, we would have monies in hand so they could apply for matches and so they could sort of pursue that goal while at the same time coming back and say, okay, the board needs to vote in favor of the expenditure and the purchase, and at which point they could go through, some of these, maybe provide some answers,
I like that.
I think that makes sense
you know.
to, I mean,
It's not just
like-
automatic.
Right, and yet they don't have to wait a full another year
Right.
to do something if it's the right thing to do.
Yeah.
And I think we have somebody on the
So
budget
Mark would like
committee.
to,
Oh, as a citizen,
Well, as a budget committee
Yeah.
member,
Yeah.
that is on it is green.
It is green.
Yes. Former budget committee member, still a budget committee member, former select board member, a liaison for the Conservation Commission, not always in attendance. I lobbied for this the other night because a board, prior to you and prior to me, and a town manager prior to Jonathan, somewhere along the line, thought it was a decent piece of equipment for them to have. And when you're talking about only adding 15 more thousand, because the 5,000 is already included to make it an $18,000 budget, it's not outrageous when you look at the work that they do and they volunteer to do. And somewhere along the line, if there was a $20,000 request made of the manager in a budget that only was 15,000 to begin with, or 13, sorry, there should have been more exploration of that request so that it could be better explained even the night that we had it, when the Conservation Committee was here. But nobody knew anything about that piece of equipment. And you can Google anything, you can find the Yugos or you can find the Cadillacs. So I, again, would urge you to put the money in and put it in a reserve. And when it's better vetted through the manager and perhaps the committee chair, it can be purchased.
yep, no, that makes sense. Yeah, we did get that recommendation.
and the one thing that Abby said too about the efficiency in time was an eye-opener for me too. So, I like the
Yeah,
reserve.
but of course, it raises other questions about Abby's time.
Yes, oh, yeah, but, or anybody's.
And
but
we're,
with
you
the
know,
vote,
that's
no.
way beyond what we
Yeah,
can talk about
yeah,
here.
But I think it helps justify
But it does,
expenditure.
if we are going to spend Abby's time doing this, then we would
Make
want
it
to
as- yep.
minimize it as much as we can.
If I could just add one, and I think Denise, you knew that assignments of department heads to certain committees are done by the manager.
I don't think John's saying it's not a question of assigning, it's just what the staff person's job description
True,
really
but
says.
at the
And if we were
time,
turning her into a water quality monitor,
True, at the
that's,
time, it thought that position was suited for that, so.
yep, makes sense.
And if you're gonna explore how much time one does, maybe you explore how much time Mike spends going to committees and
Thank you,
other
Mark.
people,
Yeah.
because they do a lot.
Absolutely, absolutely. This is not any, if anybody from the Conservation Commission is watching this or does watch it, this has nothing to do with how we
The value
esteem
of that,
and
yeah.
value what you all are doing. We appreciate that,
I like the reserve idea.
yeah. So, do we have a motion?
I don't know how to phrase it, but
Okay, I think the first question is, are we gonna do well, the $5,000 reserve is what's already in
Okay.
the proposed budget.
That's right.
Are we gonna increase it to 20,000?
oh, that's line.
So it's
Oh,
line
that's the
7
reserve, yeah.
of the Budget Committee recommendation.
Okay, I propose a motion to accept the Budget Committee's recommendation number 7 to have the Conservation Commission reserve budget brought back up to the $20,000, and with the understanding that this is a capital reserve, not just a capital expenditure.
That it's a reserve that will require our approval
Yes,
before
yeah.
it can be spent.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
A second?
Second.
Okay. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Yep.
Okay, great, 4-0. All righty.
Parks?
Parks.
Oh, yeah.
I,
I had marked a 0 on the Walker Reserve,
that's what I had as well, yeah.
because I thought we were gonna wait and see what RES shows up and then figure out what to do,
Yeah.
so we're
yeah.
not duplicating.
Nope, I think that's what we talked about
Yeah.
in, yeah. So do we have a motion to,
All right, I move that we reduce the Walker Park Reserve Deposit 7566 to 0.
Second.
Okay, any discussion? All those in favor? Okay.
7566.
Okay,
What about that special stump grant that we were gonna order?
Oh,
is that under Parks?
we gotta get a donation
How
for
many
that.
tens of thousands is that gonna be, Doug?
I think you have to sell some donuts for that.
There we go, yeah. Sell some pelts.
All righty.
Opera House.
What, Kim?
We're in Opera House now?
Yeah, I think we're done with, anything else on Parks?
Oh, sorry.
Do-
I'm jumping ahead.
Yeah, so Opera House. Anything on Opera House? We're gonna do the evaluation and
Yeah, so what are we
see what we're
doing with
facing.
it? Are we leaving it as is?
We're leaving it as is.
Is that the point?
That's the point. Give it a good solid year of operating and the magic of Carrie and Paul, and get the evaluation and see what we're in store for as a town. And we've also had some residents, I think, who are very interested in the Opera House, so potentially forming some sort of a Friends of the Opera House would be a really good thing that we could maybe get started this year. Because I think it's gonna take more than just town money to
Oh, agreed, yeah.
do what we need it to do, what we want it to be for our community. Okay. So we have Buildings and Grounds Administration, Town Office, I'm just gonna say these, but speak up if there's something, or if you wanna slow down, and
Nothing on Culture and Rec, right?
nothing on what?
Yeah.
Kim?
Culture and Rec.
Oh, Parks and Rec, no, I don't think so, unless anybody had something they wanted to. So buildings and grounds, town office building. That, thanks to buildings and grounds, we're getting a nice job done at the Richardson Room for much less than we would have paid an outside contractor. Public safety building. I think a lot of these buildings are, we're gonna be doing some more evaluation once the West Rockport Fire Station is up and running and our EMS service, but nothing in this year's budget. West Rockport Fire Station, library building, that's the old building.
Yeah.
Is that gonna go away eventually as a budget item, or?
Yeah.
In the public safety building, you talked about creating a new building reserve account,
Oh,
and putting
thank you, Megan.
$15,000 in it.
Alrighty.
Sorry, I'm trying to catch up.
No, sorry, I know I'm moving fast and I'm trying to keep our evening, we want to do the right thing for the town, but we also want to try to get out of here at a reasonable hour. So the public safety building is page
307.
307. Oh, I didn't put notes there, if that's what we were talking about doing. That we wanted to add a reserve for that?
Oh, you know what it was? It was moving money from the town office
Yeah.
building that I just changed.
Oh, I
'cause
probably
didn't
have it
know what
under the
was
town
for.
office building.
So reducing that to 30,000.
Yeah,
And then moving 15 of that to the public safety building.
that's it.
Oh, that's right, I have a note on the town office side, but I didn't carry it over into the public. So rather than the $45,000 reserve for the town office building, we make that 30,000 and then 15,000 into the public safety building.
Right.
You guys still want to do that? I think that's something we more or less agreed on.
Yeah.
Say that again?
So right now, the proposal is 45,000, the original proposal, budget proposal was 45,000 for the town office building, a reserve, and nothing in public safety, and we were taking 15,000 out of the town office reserve.
Okay,
And moving
yeah, I
it over
remember
into
that.
public safety. So we'll have 30,000 for the reserve for the town office building and 15,000 for public safety. I think that makes sense.
Do it.
Okay, do we have a motion?
Where's the public safety one?
It would be a new
brains.
line.
Oh, we're creating a
We're
new one?
creating a reserve.
Oh.
Well, yeah, it is, that says revenue, not reserve. Yeah,
So we're putting that into a new capital line?
Yeah.
Public, what are we saying?
public safety reserve. Public
I
safety
have it
building
labeled
reserve.
in here as building reserve, but it's in the public safety budget.
Public safety building reserve?
Yep.
Just have to write it. Okay, so we're putting 15,000 there. Okay, so I move that we take 15,000 out of,
So I would say I move that we reduce the building improvements reserve.
okay, I move that we reduce the building improvements reserve 7205 to 30,000 and move that to the public safety building reserve
To create a new
to
reserve.
create a new reserve for 15,000. Does that make sense? You can make it
Yep.
sound
Makes
great.
sense to me. and
You
I
can make it sound
second
good.
it.
Yep.
Yeah.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, Michael seconded. Discussion? All those in favor? Okay. All righty, so that's town office and public safety. West Rockport Fire Station, not much to add there yet. And then the old library building. So will that go, I mean, that doesn't really even need to be in here anymore, right?
The library, it's only still in there because it's got one more year of expenditures left.
Library building.
Okay,
Oh, page 317.
okay, so then.
Which one?
I don't
Where are
think
we?
there's,
Seven.
I don't think there's much to,
Yeah.
so the next category is debt service. I'm not sure there's much to say in here.
with
let's
that.
not pay it, yeah. It's no fun. And then county, of course, we can't, that is what it is. Cemeteries. I don't think we had anything there. And, yeah, Eric's gonna form a committee to work
Never
on,
heard that idea before.
Nobody likes my other one.
instead
say
of
mulch?
moss, you're gonna go for mulch?
Or AstroTurf.
I thought of that too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I was gonna say, we're not the mow astroturf.
Oh,
just a little bit of
There goes your astrofield.
chemicals. Yeah.
Don't tell the school district.
Right.
schools, I don't think I know we can't do anything about schools. Special assessments, not much there.
This
This
is
is, we've
one
got
that-
the
Yes, it
unassigned
is.
fund
Right.
balance, right?
Yep.
Okay. So this one, the budget committee recommended that we reduce the use of the unassigned fund balance from 380,000 to 200,000. There wasn't a lot of discussion at the budget committee on this. It was sort of a decision to do it, and I've been looking into this more and, you know, the various percentages of what the right approach is. The 380,000 that's proposed here is typically on the level of what we've been doing over the years in terms of the allocation of unassigned fund balance. I think,
I'm good, thank you.
you know, the purpose of, as Megan has articulated before, and she can correct me, but is to, you know, retain something so that if the town really runs into a cash crunch, we've got a resource to go to. And we sort of saw the ultimate catastrophe, which was the pandemic, where all of a sudden nobody could come in and pay their bills, and we managed fine, thanks to, you know, various
the
federal programs, but also we had enough to tide us through those periods. So I guess this is a pretty radical change to the budget to reduce this to 200,000 from the 380, and I'm inclined to stick with the 380. It's consistent with what we've done in the past. It leaves us with a very nice cushion above our policy, which is the 12%, 12% to 15%. This is up in the 18% range. So we still have a good, healthy cushion. So I hate to make this year's taxpayers, for some reason, pay.
And
a
this
premium.
helps reduce the overall budget
It does.
Yes.
It does. It's one
So
of the
that's helpful.
easiest, best ways we can.
for some people's understanding.
Somehow position.
For like prior years.
Yeah, maybe
cash
there's a pretty
wise
good
into this
analysis.
account.
Yeah, I mean, he's coming next week to do the audit, but my preliminary pre-audit numbers say that we'll be depositing something in that range into the unassigned fund balance for last fiscal year.
So we'll stay steady on that.
Right?
I don't know, do you want to have a motion, we can discuss it, or do you want to talk about it more?
Our budget person likes it,
Yeah.
She likes the 380.
just reconfirming.
It's the one thing I would say is, I understand the idea of trying to get to zero. I think it's a great goal, because it does, really the use of fund balance in an ideal world is sort of capital projects that allow you to not have it hit the budget. So we're talking about those water crossings, those box culverts that will be $450,000, $500,000, $600,000. If we could instead buy one of those with the amount of money that's in here, that would be great, right? The problem is that it's very difficult to get there, and once you're sort of at 380, it's hard to get back down to zero. And the other thing that's happening too is because of the growth of the budgets, whether they be school or town or county, it's harder for us to get to that goal number because we're sort of, it's a percentage of, right?
Right, so the gross number is huge.
Right.
I mean, we're talking really $4 million that we
Yeah.
have just sort of sitting there that we're
Right.
not spending.
Right.
And it's making us money too.
But that's how we're getting to our now 180,000.
And like when the pandemic hit, they said you could wait on registering your car. Tax payments were delayed. So, like in that case, some communities were really struggling, and we luckily never really felt that here in terms of being able to still make our school payments and all of that are our big expenses every month. So,
I definitely sympathize with the idea of, and I would like a smaller number on this. I would not have thought of cutting it in half, but it's a tough year. If that's a goal for if the board decided they didn't want to go ahead with didn't want to go with 200, because it's a tough year, certainly I would understand. I mean, that's sort of the mindset I had going into this budget, was that things can wait. But at some point, it's a good goal to cut down the amount that we're using to artificially reduce the amount that the budget is raised, the amount of money we have to raise from taxes.
Yeah.
It's a good goal to do that. As long as we're level with what we're using year over year, there's no increase or decrease in the mill rate. But the moment we start using less, it's going to invariably create a cliff of sorts. But $380,000, if we were to work our way down from that, that would be I think a good goal to, 300, 250. I'd like to think next year's budget will get some sanity. We wouldn't have a situation where we're starting a whole new department. We have budget pressures from the county they have a 60% increase in their budget. That's, and those are real costs. And, I don't know when those budget pressures are gonna stop for us. That's part of the problem. I'd love to say the rainy day's happening now and then next year we'll cut it in half. I don't have that sort of forecast in as much as I'd like to say it is. I
we'll
think
have some of our own too, because we
Right.
didn't fully fund the EMS department, so
Right.
we'll be starting
Eventually,
off
we're
with an
gonna have to,
additional.
yeah. Well, and these monies are basically monies that were budgeted, but that didn't get spent in prior years. So they're really money that belongs to the taxpayer.
right.
And so if we can use that to help reduce this year's burden on the taxpayer, that seems appropriate, as long
Yeah.
as we're within appropriate financial
Exactly.
parameters, and I think we
Yep.
are. Oh, all right,
I
I
agree.
understand we are. Okay, do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion to deny the Budget Committee's request number 8 of reducing the unassigned fund balance from 380,000 to 200. So we deny that and maintain the $380,000 as proposed in the manager's budget.
Okay, is there a second?
On line item, oh my gosh, I can't see it, got a hole there. Something 2,500.
Oh, yeah.
Our
we're holding
2,500.
Ours. Yeah. Making those right. Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Okay. Any discussion? Oh, yes.
Oh,
I think it's usually customary to state a motion in the affirmative, and then deny it in the vote. So, in other words, in my recollection is that you should say you make a motion to approve the Budget Committee's recommendation, and then, when it comes time to vote, people vote it down. That's just my understanding.
Unfortunately, that hasn't been how we've been doing it tonight, so I'd
No,
hate to
I
go
know, I
back
noticed it
over
once
and,
before, and I couldn't hold back any further.
okay,
so I brought
thank
it
you.
out.
I have to read my Robert's Rules of Order, but I think as long as there's a record of what we're doing, I think that's what matters.
I'm just saying it's customary.
Thank
yeah.
you.
And I have to admit, I feel guilty going, we want to deny this,
I know, because we're really not trying to, we're just
Yeah.
not accepting the recommendation
Yeah.
of the Budget Committee.
I'm going to remember that for next time.
Yep. Okay,
And furthermore,
yeah. Could someone take that mic away?
Yeah, the battery's dying in that one, isn't it?
I thought you came here to talk about parks, but I didn't know you came to talk about parliamentary procedure.
I didn't have anything better to do.
I'm learning. This is all to the advantage.
Did we take a vote on that, or
No.
did we
We-
get, no?
we've-
Okay.
we've
So
motioned
had
and
our
seconded.
Any discussion among the board? All those in favor? Okay, 4-0. All right. Anything
That's
else?
the end of it.
That's it. We could chat and talk, but I think we got through the budget, and what's the, do we have a magic number that we
Oh,
can?
yeah, I'll tell you in just a second.
So in terms of process, so,
Thank you, Abby. Good night.
yeah, everyone can go who doesn't want to be here.
Yeah. Mike,
so-
you want to, thank you for coming.
Yeah, Devin, you can leave too. You don't want to be here. I didn't say Doug, but Devin, definitely. You gotta stay, Doug. Hour 2 on Robert's Rules. No, no, but, so next step is, this will turn into the warrant articles, both expenditures and revenues. And then on Monday night, you will vote your recommendations as a board, whether you recommend the overall budget or not.
And
So-
not by each department or each?
Nope,
Okay,
one article. So one
Okay.
article for expenditures, one article for revenues, and
great.
Because
Yeah.
we've done all the item.
It's
You've
all
done the hard
available
work.
publicly.
Yes.
Anybody can see. This
Yeah,
budget's all
and Megan cleans
posted.
it all up and makes it pretty.
Yeah,
that's right.
Yeah, so I've highlighted the options that you changed, so tomorrow morning I will write up your draft verbiage for the
Okay.
changes in the budget, I'll send that to you guys, just for you to make sure it says what you want it to say. And then we'll put it in the document and we'll publish it to the website.
okay.
13.72% or $2,588,920. That includes, the school and county changes as well, so that's
Okay.
overall.
Okay, so our budget increase is.
But you're 27.9% or 1.6 million, but the majority of that is the EMS department.
And the 13, also, the school number changed, or we had.
It must have gone up.
It
Right,
did,
when
you-
when you had your workshop.
Because we had 11.5% was the budget increase.
So the
was hoping it was
school
gonna go down.
budget went from 13.6 million to just over 14 million when they did their budget presentation to you.
Yeah.
And that's assuming it hasn't changed since then,
Yeah.
but I
Well,
figured I
as we
should
know, we
match
can
it to
only
what they
control
presented.
our portion of the overall tax bill.
Wonderful.
And we did, I think we did. You know, it's a
happy.
tough balance, trying to balance between
Yeah.
providing our citizens, our residents, the kind of town services they expect, and trying to keep the
Do we know how
taxes
much-
so people can afford to live here.
Do you know how much value we've added in new properties, or any idea on that side yet?
I know.
We'll find out from Carrie.
In fact, he and I haven't even had that conversation. Today is the day. Today is the new year for taxable properties, so this is the day everything is valued as of this date, so.
Because I
It's,
happened
Happy
to
New Year.
look today, I mean, I haven't looked at my property thing online for a long time, but I
Yeah.
happened to look today.
Yeah.
I was like, what? The value is what?
Yeah.
So
Was that
is
when we
it
seen
possible
that?
anything had changed? Okay,
No, it would,
This is
it
just
would
'cause I
have been
hadn't
what
looked.
you got last summer. It would have been that same value.
okay.
And of course, the reval is ongoing,
Okay.
and people will be in people's neighborhoods.
Because
and-
I know there's definitely new properties involved.
Yeah,
I mean, my street alone has those two at the end that same family
That added
built
to
the
the
two.
Yep.
valuation.
What about that gymnasium? Is that done yet, or?
it's not done. I don't know what percentage he has on it, though. Yeah.
Yeah, but does it get valued at what it is as of today then? How does that
Yes.
work when it's under construction?
Yeah, it gets valued, what percentage complete as of today. So usually there's hey, where are you as of this date? Let me come by and take a look. And, Kerry did tell me he was on the prowl to have the commitment done earlier, more in July this year, but, things can change.
Right.
But that will allow us to get tax bills out a little earlier. We don't anticipate any other, I would say from my last conversation with him, he didn't anticipate any major changes in terms of valuation. And as he mentioned when he was here the other night, he does anticipate we will be able to do 100% for another year, which will be a good thing. Yeah, we have pressures, and I don't know, just soapbox thing here, but like, other communities are seeing this, and there is you know, no one wants to pay for it. Who does? I don't want to pay for it. But the pressures that are coming in the door for services are just absolutely endless right now.
Yeah, and
They are
across all
endless.
walks. I mean, I was
Right.
listening to these issues now with that, you know, prisons are where chronically homeless are ending up. They're ending
Yeah.
up at the hospitals.
Right.
They're ending up in our town office. And it's
Absolutely.
just this widespread sort of lack of social services.
Right. We are social services. The town is becoming social service.
Yeah.
We don't do that, and we don't do it well.
We're not set up to
We're
do it.
trying,
Yeah,
to help people, but people are coming here, and that's just one department. But you know, there are police officers, and you know,
Right.
it's just, and then when you have drug overdoses, you've got our fire departments are coming in. Now we'll have EMS that's involved. This is not the town I grew up in. I mean,
No.
things have changed ridiculously, and I don't see it slowing down. I wish I could say it was. I mean, I don't like it. You all don't like it. The budget committee doesn't. None of us like it. Megan doesn't like it. But we're facing some things that are, you know, they're not things that we've ever run across in Rockport, Maine. You know, and I don't know how it slows down. And there's gonna come a revolt. I mean, the town, there's gonna be people that I can't pay afford to, I can't live here, I can't. And I understand it,
Yeah.
but we went through this budget process, and there's things you could say no to. There's always things you could say no to, but it's not, there aren't a lot of easy answers to say no.
and
Question.
when I look at these, I'm just so reminded I mean, we have an incredible group of department heads and a town manager who are taking these problems seriously, working at it, and understanding it's not always perfect, and it's a big budget.
Yeah.
But we have really smart, dedicated people creating this budget, doing the day-to-day work for our town, and can't say thank you enough to.
On a bigger picture, if we get development, like with a sewer line going up
Right.
Route 90,
Right.
and housing is built and businesses expand, all that is new tax revenue, right?
That
is.
all helps.
Which
That-
will then help reduce the
Huge.
budget across.
Right.
That will make
Yeah.
big difference. And the denser the housing we can decide we're okay
Right.
with, I mean,
Yeah.
that's a town discussion, but,
Yeah, because if we're working with status quo, the same number of homes, the same number of businesses,
Right.
year after year after year,
Math
everybody
doesn't
goes
work.
up.
yeah, we have to grow the
Yeah.
pie, sort of. you
Yeah.
know, instead of-
And like I sent you the article from the Bangor Daily News on Friday, right? Bridgeton has this housing boom. I don't know that Rockport needs a housing boom, but there's a need for housing, right? We all know that. And people can't afford to buy $700,000 homes if they're a nurse, if they're a teacher, if they're a cop, if they're, you know, it's just.
Most anybody.
Most of us can't do that, right? But that's sort of where we're headed. And Bridgeton figured out a way to do it. And I'll jump to the end for everyone's watching. They built a $20 million wastewater treatment plant.
Which
And it was
allowed-
it was the one that you guys visited
Yeah.
in Bridgeton.
Yep.
I'm not saying that's the solution to the world's problems. Lord knows it isn't, but you need infrastructure to
It's a-
support where you're going.
And that was
If
the
you're
piece
working
that
with
they
neighbors or
did.
whatever, you need infrastructure.
Yeah.
And right now, we don't have infrastructure. We have a collection system, and we have nowhere to go with it. Until we find out the solution of where we're going with it, we're going nowhere
Yeah.
Yeah.
as a community.
And have the ability to expand our collection system,
Exactly.
because right now, we are not allowed to do that.
Good. I think that's a positive note.
That
And,
is. So, do we have a motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second. Okay. All those in favor?
I
Great.
thank you all.
Thanks, everyone. Thanks, Jeff.
Getting me through my first budget year.